Hi, my name is Gene Monterastelli, and the video you are about to watch is a recording from the 24 Hours of Tapping, which is an event that is held annually to support the Peaceful Heart Network. If you appreciate or learn anything from this video, the easiest way for you to say thank you is to support the work of the Peaceful Heart Network, who has worked with over 300,000 migrants, immigrants, prisoners, folks in disaster areas by bringing tapping to them. As you watch the video, across the bottom, you will see a link where you can support their amazing work. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. Gene Monterastelli was born in Casper, Wyoming, and is currently based in Brooklyn, New York. And he works with clients one-on-one and in groups from all over the world. He regularly leads training on the art of delivery of tapping through the Tapping Mastery Academy. He specializes in helping people to use tapping to eliminate self-sabotaging behaviors so they can consistently take actions to create the lives that they love. He has a special place in his practice and his heart for families with children who have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Gene is the editor of tappingqa.com, and since 2009, he has hosted the Tapping Q&A podcast with over 660 episodes. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Gene Monterastelli.
I'm so glad you did that.
And since we are doing that, we need to do this. We need to go like this, and we now need to move you into the interviewing chair and move to the other side.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, Gene. Gene is my very special guest. So if anyone's totally confused at this point.
It's 11:25 on the East Coast. We're all confused here even before we got to all of this sort of stuff.
What this means, everybody, is I'm actually interviewing Gene. Gene gets to sit back now and not be prepared for anything and just answer my questions.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to kick off. And this is such a good topic, even if it's you're a practitioner listening in, but you might just want to listen for yourself here, because I was thinking about my own in case Gene asked me to talk about my own resistance.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about resistance and what that means and a particular framework that Gene is known for using. But I want to start high level here for a minute, Gene. Talk to me about what is resistance? What does it look like? How does it show up?
Yeah.
How do we recognize it? We can step through all of this one at a time, but let's just start at the top.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of healing fundamentals that I work from, just so that when I'm in the moment, I don't have to do a lot of thinking, because I know exactly where I stand. And so one of the fundamentals I work from is, if it wasn't for resistance to change, the change already would have happened. And resistance is just something that pushes against us in one direction. And there's a summer breeze and a hurricane wind are both resistances to different degrees. And resistance is based in just trying to keep us safe. It is just a guardrail. Resistance, so often we think it's happening. Well, I need to overcome my resistance. Well, there's a really good thing that I like. As much as I love cuddly animals, I have resistance where I am not going to climb into the lion or the tiger cage like someone did in New York City last year to get a cuddle with the tiger. Resistance is this thing that is keeping us safe. Because it is most of the resistances we have with enough willpower, it might be possible for us to overcome it. But sometimes we don't have enough willpower, enough energy to do it. So I think about it like reins that are pulling us back. That, again, as a horseback rider, when I'm pulling the reins, I'm trying to communicate something. It's just my system trying to communicate, I perceive danger over there. And the key word is perceive. It's not my resistance is rooted in, my resistance is, it's just a prediction model. It's not a logical model, it's a prediction model. When I see, an animal in the wild sees a berry that is red. And so its prediction model says that is poisonous because it's red, therefore I'm not going to eat it. Now, sometimes the red berry isn't poisonous. That things adapt and do that. And so for me, my resistance is the thing that is keeping me safe. And then the work that I'm doing is making sure that it's a proportionate, well-informed emotional response to what is in front of me. Because like it's not about
Mm.
eliminating resistance. It's about having a healthy, safe, appropriate resistance based on context. And for me, the other piece is, and this is the thing that I've been thinking so much about, is that when we talk about our issues in transformation, we create a title. And a lot of us, when we learned the basic, was like, let's do the story technique, give it a title. And I'm just going to say, the time I was at the mall, the time I was at the mall, the time I was at the mall. But what that does is that flattens things out and it takes out context. You know, it's not that I'm afraid to speak in public. I'm afraid to speak in public because my boss's boss is in the room and I've never had that experience before. And so the resistance to speak is I'm going to say something dumb in front of someone who isn't my supervisor, but's responsible for my promotion someday. And so it's just understanding why I consciously say I want to do something and I'm not. You know, if it wasn't for resistance to change, the change already would have happened. If I name I want to do something, and they're kind of these prerequisites. I know what to do, I know how to do it, I have the capacity, I have the resources, and I have the want to. If all of those things are present and I'm not taking action, then there is some emotional story that is preventing me because it doesn't feel safe.
So I'm wondering, and two things are coming to mind here just as you're talking and I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If that kind of explanation really makes sense to someone and they're like, okay, I get this. This resistance actually is trying to protect me. It is, I can feel into it from a different space here and kind of go, okay, much more compassionate kind of, you know, you know. So could that itself then prevent someone from wanting to do anything about the resistance because they forever interpret it as just protecting them and doing a good thing for them, and so therefore I'm just wondering, does it ever become an excuse?
Well, and so one of the things that's really interesting is, so again, we're talking, so like and this is, I'm not a neurologist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm just like a computer scientist who thinks about my brain like a computer scientist. Like literally all the time I'm just talking about, this is the way the software works, how do I optimize the software? Okay. And so one of the things that's really interesting about belief is our subconscious mind, in my framework as I think about this, is it's not operating from beliefs, it's operating from truths. And so if the subconscious mind, operative reality to the subconscious mind is reality, it actually is how the world works. And so there are times in which I can carry a belief about something, about how it works and how it doesn't, but I don't even recognize that it's a belief. I recognize it as something that I know to be true. And so when that's the case, then I'm not going to engage with it. The other thing is that, you know, like I gave my 5 prerequisites and the last one is want to. Well, and want to isn't the right word. Having a compelling reason to do it. I have zero want to file my taxes. I have a compelling reason to file my taxes.
It's not
You
about
know, there are consequences that come if I choose not to do that thing. So this compelling reason to do it. And so then the question then becomes, like, as we're like stepping in to do this work, is the want to sufficient enough for me to engage with doing the work? You know, do I have like, I tried this years and years ago. I tried to learn how to pick locks because I'm a magician and I can get out of straitjackets and I can juggle and I have all of these skills. And I thought lock picking would be fun. And so I actually you can get clear plastic locks so you can actually see the tumblers on the inside. So as you're using the tools, you can actually see what is going on. I had a want to, but not a compelling enough want to stick with it. So even though there was a desire, the desire was insufficient for what needed to be done to get over it. Now, I think one of the things you're getting to is sometimes the thing that I'm trying to get over is all of that secondary gain stuff that we bump into, all of the fear and the consequence for me being like, all of the things that go wrong if I'm successful, or all of the things that go wrong if I try. Then it becomes easier to go, oh, it's just impossible for me. Men in my family have never been lucky in love. And then what I do is I take the subconscious story and make it a conscious story as a justification for me not trying to overcome that particular thing. And and that's okay. Like the question that, so my priority stack is it safe? Is it ethical? Is it useful? And so where I am right now, how I am living, how's that working for you? I found my way to tapping because of my social anxiety. And for me, it was, I later discovered this entry. And the way I felt in my body is I felt like someone's kid brother that the adults were making the big kids tolerate. That's how I felt in my body. I know intellectually know that's not true.
Yeah.
And my world in my late 20s and early 30s kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it sucked, but it was tolerable. The moment I started allowing that resistance to have me not take action and then lie to my friends who are counting on me to take action, then the pain became enough that it was no longer working for me. Now, it wasn't working great for me when my world was getting smaller and smaller, but I had decided consciously or unconsciously that was tolerable. Then when it got to the point where I was hurting other people's dreams, that was the moment it no longer became tolerable for me. And it was like, okay, I recognize this as a resistance, and I am now choosing to decide having that resistance win is no longer the thing I want to do.
And is that fifth step of compelling, there's a compelling reason then to make a shift, make a change?
Yeah. And for me, and so one of the things that, once I recognize that compelling reason is willpower is really good for getting me out of the street so I don't get hit by a car. Willpower is really, really bad at getting me to do something I'm not very good at for 45 minutes a day for 6 weeks to learn a new skill. Like it is insufficient to do that. So for me, then the energy or the thing that cultivates that want to or that compelling reason is having a clearly articulated why, and to engage with that clearly articulated why consistently. I have a jug of water, 64 ounces of water that is in my fridge that I call my why jar, because every single time I fill up the 16-ounce glass, I say one of my whys out loud. And some of them are about my business, and some of them about my health and about my relationships and my spiritual growth or whatever. But I know why I want change. For me, wanting change is not sufficient. Why I want the change is sufficient. People don't actually want to love themselves more. People want to feel comfortable inside of their own skin, so they feel comfortable sharing their truth. They feel comfortable bringing up an idea. They feel comfortable asking for help. It's the outcome that comes from that thing. I don't want to improve my self-esteem. The reason why I want to improve my self-esteem is because it gives me, or because it eliminates something. So much so on my to-do list, if I have a task that I know that I don't enjoy doing, parenthetically after the task, I will write the reason why doing that task is useful for me in my life, be it professionally, be it personal, whatever. So then I'm not thinking about the task, I'm thinking about what the task gives me. And so again, as we talk about this, getting that compelling reason to go up. So now as the compelling reason goes up, I now am willing to sit in the discomfort of admitting to myself all of the times that I failed past, all of the things, or boy, I really say I'm good at this thing, and boy, am I a shrinking violet when it comes up. When the desire to have the outcome overcomes the shame, the embarrassment, the concern of what I'm going to uncover and what I have to deal with, then it becomes possible for me to do that work. And that's one of the reasons why I work with a practitioner. Because when I'm working with a practitioner, like when I'm tapping on my own, I have to tune into the issue. I have to think of the process to respond to that issue. And I have to hold the container for me to be safe and for me to stay on task when I'm doing stuff. If I'm working with a practitioner, I now only have to do one of those things. And I am a person who I do what I'm told. Like once I decide I trust you, like we were talking about in our conversation with your stuff, like I'm really coachable when I decide that you are a coach that is worth listening to. And so I really, really trust my practitioner. And so when I'm in the moment, I know from lived experience, I am going to be safe and well cared for inside of that. Like he is working from a point of view that I don't have to worry about that. So I don't have to hold that container.
Yeah.
Because when I'm overcoming this thing that is just this resistance to making a change, I have to hold the container when I'm doing that particular thing. And sometimes I can do that really, really. So again, I have to live by rules. My subconscious mind is a 6-year-old. I give myself gold stars and high fives and all of that sort of stuff. And so I have rules. If I have a task on my to-do list that gets copied 3 days in a row and I don't do it, I now have to get an appointment with my practitioner. Because if I don't have a rule like that for myself and I don't have a governor to that, then it's going to be a week and a half where I feel, oh yeah, I guess I need to reach out for that particular thing. And so again, I recognize how the software works. It's really easy for me to work my way through it. And it takes me a while to figure it out. But if I have this rule, 3 days in a row, obviously, no matter how much you are, Mr. Tappy Boy can handle this sort of stuff on resistance, you're too close to the issue on this particular thing, and we need to reach out for help as we engage with that.
Jean, I needed this when I was writing the grant and found that I had the whole day and I still hadn't started by 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So, right. This dovetails beautifully for us because I'm sure anyone's listening's like, yep, okay, I'm aware now and I want to do something about my resistance to whatever. What we're going to unpack now is a protocol that you use and you teach, and we're going to obviously talk about the elements of this. So it is, anyone listening, the SWORD protocol, so SAWD. So I'll go through them, but then I'm handing over to Jean here. We're going to unpack them one by one. So safe, allowed, worthy, and deserve. So we have these 4 aspects of this protocol, particularly for resistance. Should we start with the first one, safe?
Well, yeah. And so like just kind of context where it came from. Like I didn't do it because it spelled a fun word. Like I literally was just sitting there and just going, okay, great. What are the reasons that we hold ourselves back? And like one of my superpowers is just to being able to like collect disparate data into little bitty pockets. And so that is actually the most useful order for us to go through these things. And so the first one is safe. Like I was just playing around one time and I took Maslow's hierarchy of needs and I took it and I turned it 45 degrees and I placed it on a picture of the brain. And all of a sudden I realized that those very base elements of safety start with the very primitive brain. And as we work our way forward to enlightenment and all that sort of stuff, we're landing at this conscious spot. And so we're kind of like we're literally elevating. And that's the way we think. We think from our unconscious mind through our conscious mind. And so our primary driver is safety. Like that is how species procreate, is they stay alive long enough for them to actually procreate. And so for me, the place that I always start is it safe? And there's 2 really simple ways that we can do that. The first is like, I imagine taking an action that I am resisting. And I just notice the resistance. Is it tightness in my chest? Is it butterflies in my stomach? And I learned this really fun thing from my friend, Dr. Stapleton, where we disassociate and we ask it questions. And like literally what I do is I just go, resistance, what are you afraid of? And then the second question we ask it is, and what proof do you have that that's a possibility or a probability? Now, there's not always an answer to that. And sometimes there is no answer to that and it doesn't do anything to it, but I'm just investigating information. One of the things that has changed for me is that I am not looking for a root cause. I'm looking for a doorway. I'm looking for a window. I'm looking for a chimney. I'm looking for the weak spot in the wall where I can Kool-Aid man my way through and break through and just find an entry point. And so I don't need all of the aspects and I don't need everything. But if I tune and do that, or the other thing, it's just really simple. It's not safe for me to do this because, and I just sit and listen for an answer to come up. And if I'm struggling with that, I'll just add my favorite prefix. I know I don't know the answer to this, but if I did, it's not safe for me to do this because. And like all of this stuff just starts coming forward. And again, resistance is about keeping me safe. So now that I've been presented with this story, it's not safe to do this because I'm going to be judged. It's not safe for me to do this because I'm going to invest months into writing a grant proposal and they're going to say no and it's going to be a waste of time and I'm going to be embarrassed in front of my colleagues. Like whatever that thing is. So again, to go back to the idea we started with, resistance isn't bad. It just wants to be proportionate and well-informed. And so I am now afraid of this thing. Is it a proportionate, well-informed response for the context that I'm in? Because sometimes when we learn the lesson, this is not a lived experience, this is an example, but we have a 6-year-old who is living in a house with a bipolar parent, and they learn, head down, make no noise, that's how I am safe. Okay, that is a resistance. I am resisting speaking up because if I speak up, dad is going to overreact and I'm going to get grounded or possible worse things that come from that. Resistance is a fabulous thing. The 6-year-old figures out how to keep themselves alive.
Yeah.
As
but
an adult,
about,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, as we step through, that makes complete sense because it's got a real survival purpose when you think about it. What if you've got a gym membership?
Yeah.
You've invested, you've made the decision. Maybe there's great classes that you really want to go to twice or 3 times a week. Yeah. And that resistance comes up when it's, I don't know, the time on the timetable to go and you're like, I don't want to go. Is that still the same question at that first to try and get that entry point? Is it like...
But my first question is always safety. Like, because that's the most primitive thing. And as we're going to work through these things, they become slightly more sophisticated as we work up Maslow's hierarchy of needs inside of this. And so it is incredibly possible it is not a safety issue. But again, safety is this idea of perception. It's not about whether or not something is dangerous, And so it could be unsafe because I tried and failed before, and I don't want to expose myself to doing that sort of thing. So it's not a physical thing with giant claws and teeth chasing me. It's a safety of identity. I am a failure or I'm not a failure. It's a safety of identity. People notice because I've gotten this thing and I showed up and they say hi to me and all of a sudden I'm not there. And I go back to the gym after 2 days. Like, oh, I haven't seen you. I've been coming at a different time. Like all of a sudden I get a chance to be scrutinized because I didn't show up and I didn't follow through those things. And so that's for always, like for me, always, what's it afraid of? Like just tune into the resistance and what's it afraid of? And if I can just, and the other thing is, once I unpack that fear, I am not trying to reframe the fear. For me, what I'm doing is I am acknowledging the intention of the fear. I recognize the fact there's a part of me that's trying to keep me safe because it's afraid that, and I appreciate this is trying to keep me safe. Now you'll notice in that tapping, I am not affirming the fear's belief. I'm affirming the fear's desire to keep me safe.
Yeah. So and that's a real distinction, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And so now me and the fear are on the same team.
Yeah.
Then I'm able to go, and I want the fear to know in its effort to keep me safe, it's keeping me unsafe by. It's preventing me from. And so what I'm doing is I am providing Dr. David Feinstein's vocabulary, I'm providing a prediction error. My subconscious mind thinks this is what the consequence is going to be, and I'm giving it an output that isn't true. You're trying to keep me safe, and actually, I'm unsafe. And so now the subconscious mind is going, well, wait, I'm trying to keep him safe, and it's not. And as I'm tapping, like I have not been able to successfully think my way into that. For whatever reason, the magic where we're trying to figure this out by doing this at the exact same time, because the way the energy travels through these liquid crystals in our bodies that Chinese medicine calls meridians, that goes to the point where the activation is happening in the brain and that rewrite happens. So that's all I'm trying to do initially is like, I'm just acknowledging and admitting what's there. And I'm just saying what's actually happening.
So let me say that again about,
Yep.
so I'm going to get this right. Let's talk about the gym. Not that
Yeah.
that's my lived experience, but just say.
Yeah, we're just going to pretend for no reason at all.
Because it's such a great one to pretend on.
Yeah.
So it is acknowledging this part of me, the resistant part, is worrying about X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
If I go, or yeah.
I mean, look, the vocabulary, the framework that I work from is every single emotion is just trying to convey a specific message. Fear is there is danger. Anger, there's a perceived attack. Frustration is I am not having a need met. Sadness is I'm disconnected from something that is important. And so if I it's kind of like a red light means stop, a green light means go. Like a blue light means a power is on. Like it's just communicating a specific piece of information. And so if I'm afraid of something, there is a perceived danger. And so then my work is it proportionate and is it well informed? And so I'm just having a conversation with this part. Hey, you're trying to keep me safe. I really appreciate it. Did you know this is actually what's going on? Which then creates a subconscious mind. It's like, yes, I'm aware of that, but do you remember? And do you remember? And do you remember? And so now it just becomes a conversation with like, again, like by personifying it and giving it agency. It doesn't have agency. But by personifying it and giving it agency, I'm giving my mouth vocabulary to tap on. Hey, I know you're trying to keep me safe. You're not actually keeping me safe. Like, I don't know how to tap on my neurology. I know how to turn to someone and say, you're being kind-heartedly incompetent. I appreciate you want to be helpful and you're doing exactly the wrong thing. And so by using that framework, I'm not saying this is how the subconscious mind works. I'm saying if I think about the subconscious in this mind, I now have a framework to actually come up with vocabulary. Because for me, again, the biggest resistance I have seen my clients and students having to tapping is entry. Like I have this thing and I don't know what. Okay, I guess I just wander away from it because I don't want to look stupid while I'm doing it. And so by giving myself this thing I get to have a conversation with, I know how to have a conversation with someone. And so that's all I'm doing is I pretend that particular thing. So that's the reason why safety becomes the entry point because again, like it doesn't matter if I am having a conversation about whether I'm worthy to have this outcome because fear always wins. Fear always wins. It doesn't matter how many issues are there. And so that's the reason why I always start with safety.
And is the aim of the tapping at this very first rung of the ladder to take the edge off or to uncover something else or to really do some tapping until you feel some sense of resolution or calmness?
Better. Like
different. Yeah.
You know, and it's so funny because you have to live in the world of sud scales because you're doing documentation. Like you need measurements. Okay. And for me, I don't care what the suds level is. I care that the resistance is diminished enough so I can think, feel, and believe and act in the way that I want to act. And there are times in which I can have a resistance at a 9, a fear at a 9. And if I get it to a 7, I can now take action.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other times,
that's really valid. Yes.
I can get the fear to a 3 and I am still not moving. And so it's about it. Every single time I sit down to tap, I am doing it with an objective in mind. Now, there are lots of different objectives. Sometimes the objective is to put myself back in the body and stop looking at Instagram so I can do what is in front of me. Sometimes it's I want to be in a circumstance where I can have a hard conversation with a friend. Sometimes it's I want to diminish the pain that is in my body. Sometimes it's I want to consistently take an action. Sometimes it's I want to look in the mirror and not curse at myself immediately and think all of those things. And so and inside of that also, I'm going for better.
Yeah.
Like I'm my goal, even though I say this all the time, half jokingly and half true, every time we sit down to tap, we want total, eternal, instantaneous transformation. I just want the outcome that I want. I can remember the very, very, very first digital product that I sold that was not $7. It was the priceless sum of $97 or $147. And I can remember sitting in a coffee shop in Charles Village in Baltimore, Maryland. And I have my laptop open and I have Aweber open, which is my email platform. And I hit send and I slammed the laptop shut and I went for a 90-minute walk because I was certain I was going to have this onslaught of Nastagrams. And I had some people unsubscribe and I sold 3 products. But all I needed to do was I needed to diminish the resistance enough to write a compelling piece of copy, because sometimes my resistance will have me write crap. Hit send. And it didn't matter that I was so scared after hitting send. Now, there are some circumstances where that's not sufficient. You know, if I'm driving a car, it's not just about me getting over the fear to turn the ignition. Like, I have to be fear-free enough to get us to a place safely as we are driving somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so my goal is better. My goal, because like because I could reduce a pain by 95%. And if my goal is to be pain-free, I could walk away from that experience disappointed because I still have pain.
Yes.
You know, but for me, like, if my back pain diminishes enough that I can now sit down for 2 hours, I can go to a movie, and I couldn't do that before. So the quality of my life is better. And so for me, it's the consequence of the thought, feeling, belief, and action. It's not what is in the way. And I just am trying to get rid of enough of it for me to create. Again, sometimes it's a little, and sometimes I need to move a lot for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. It's great. Better, everyone. Take that word away.
Better. Yeah.
If we get to that stage at this first step of safe in the SWORD protocol, is the next rung then the next part of the framework?
So the next one's allowed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that allowed is safety in context of community. Okay. Because we are tribal creatures that are afraid that I am going to, if I'm pushed outside of this, so I'm afraid of tiger big teeth. Rawr, rawr, rawr. Allowed is if I do something that violates community standards, I am now kicked outside of the tribe, and now rawr, 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 and I get eaten. So it's still a safety thing, but it's not about the immediate danger. It's about the people I'm around and whether or not I am accepted enough to stay in the tribe so I'm not pushed out in that particular way. And so it's the exact same thing, where before it's not safe for me to do this because, framing is exactly the same. I'm not allowed to do this because. And so then so now with allowed, it becomes a measuring stick. So I'm not allowed to do this because of some standard. And so then the question with allowed, with that standard is, according to who, according to what? Because the only time I'm allowed or not allowed to do something is if I have something to measure it up against. And so the allows that we have, some of them are explicit. You're not, people in our family we're serious people and we do not pursue the arts, you know? So it's an explicit or it's an implicit allowed. The way our guardians, our caregivers respond to one thing or they don't respond to another, or cultural things that exist inside of our family, our community, our workplace, our religion, our nationality, our country, our neighborhood, our building, our whatever. that there are standards and there are consequences when we violate those standards. And sometimes there's a consequence, which is my next door neighbor rolls her eyes at me, but that doesn't actually create any danger for me. But if I perceive her rolling her eyes at me as I am now kicked out of the community and I'm going to die, because subconscious mind goes to that place, I'm now investigating what are the internalized, implicit and explicit rules which are governing how I act in the world. And sometimes it's just because of what is propriety. And sometimes it's because, you're not allowed to run on the deck of the pool. Well, you're not allowed to do that because you're more likely to slip and fall and split your head open, and that's bad. And so again, having these resistances, don't run on the pool deck, that's a rule that is a resistance from me running. That makes sense. That keeps me safe.
Yeah.
The speed limit in my neighborhood is 20 miles an hour, where the speed limit on the BQE, the interstate that runs through my neighborhood, is 65. That makes sense for the context. And so, again, I'm interrogating when I tune in, am I allowed to do this, about whether or not it's a standard I would like to accept, and what are the consequences if I don't accept it, and am I willing to live with those particular consequences? I'm not going to move to a place that is without consequence. Like there are things that I am going to do that people are going to reject, that are going to criticize, that are going to say nasty things about me. Who says those nasty things matters to me? Okay. It would matter to me if you said horrible things about the work that I do. It does not matter to me if Joe Rogan says horrible things about the work that I do. Like there is a there's a consequence for the ground. Like we cannot agree on the fact that the world is round. Okay. If we can't agree on that simple fact, nothing I do is going to be universally acceptable. And so what I want to do is, when I am, whether or not I'm being held back or not by that sense of allowed, is, am I understanding the measuring stick properly? Do I embrace the consequences of that measuring stick? And am I willing to live with those particular consequences? And so yeah.
If I'm coming back, because I'm pondering as you're speaking, just this exercise example.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, okay, so I think I could imagine someone saying from that internal point of view that I'm not really allowed to, or I have difficulty allowing myself to take time for myself by going to the gym. So that might be
okay. That's a safety issue. That's not an allowed issue.
Ooh,
I'm not allowing to, if I'm saying I'm not allowing myself, more than likely I have created that because I've decided it is unsafe for me to do that. If it is an internally opposed allowed, it is probably rooted in safety. If it is an externally picked up, and I'm not going to say impose, because a lot of them and sometimes we're picking up aloud of things that people aren't saying. My family's not going to allow me to pursue the arts because of who they are. And then all of a sudden I create something artistic and the family shows up like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. We're so proud of you. We didn't know you had it in you. But I had internalized, because I lived with these non-artistic people, I'm not allowed to be artistic.
That's the rule. Yeah, that's the rule.
Yeah.
So what would be an allowed then for not committing to your gym membership?
Okay, take a nice big deep breath. I'm not allowed to work out regularly because
I don't have time.
Okay, great.
That just popped in.
But again, you can see by giving ourselves permission to just play fill in the blank, now I don't have time. Now, depending on the season, I did not have time to work out yesterday and today because of this chair that I'm sitting in for 24 straight hours. Like I'm in a season where that is actually a true statement. Okay. But the question, the question you now get to interrogate is Is that true? And what has happened is, I don't have time. Well, that is a universal statement. Okay. And you're right. You don't have time to work out 36 hours this week. You know, do you actually have enough time to do it 3 times for 45 minutes? You know,
Mm,
and so then we start to get the opportunity to go what's into that.
mm.
And you don't even necessarily have to have the answer. We just start with, there's a part of me that doesn't think I have enough time to do this. And
Yeah,
I'm open to the
perfect. Yeah,
possibility that that might actually be true. And I'm
yeah,
also open to the possibility it's not. And so as I tap
yep.
and I talk my way through that allowed possibility, I am moving from this emotional black and white, and by just narrating what is going on, like this is what I understand, this is how I feel about it, this is what I
Mm,
understand, this is how I feel,
mm,
like that's it, like that's the simplest
mm,
tapping
mm.
script in the history of the world, but it
Yep.
works. But in this case, I have this belief.
Yeah.
And okay, so great, so I don't have time. What is the emotion you feel about that statement?
About not having time.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't have enough time.
Constrained. Is that a feeling?
That could be. Okay, no, but okay. What do you
Mm.
feel about the fact that you believe you don't have enough time?
Oh,
What's the emotion with that goes along that you have that belief?
frustrated.
Excellent. Frustration is the information of not having a desire filled. Great. So now we're now in a circumstance where I am frustrated that because of the way I'm thinking about my time, I don't believe I have enough time for this, which may be true or it may not be true.
Mm,
But you can
mm,
see how we're just slowly starting
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
chip
Love
away
it.
and understand
Mm,
what's behind it,
mm,
because you might actually come to the conclusion you don't have enough time. Like,
mm,
I have a rule in my life. Like, I ask myself 5 questions before I do anything. Is it a good idea? Is it a good idea for me? Is it a good idea for me right now? Is it a
mm.
good idea right now for what it's going to cost me time, energy, and whatever? And what am I going to give up to do it?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I'm not like staring into the middle distance, not doing anything. Like,
yeah.
my
There's a giving
time
up
is
moment.
occupied.
Yes,
It
and
might not be occupied
that rings
well.
bell. That's the most true part for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
What do
and
I
so
have to give up?
that's right. And so that then becomes the thing that we start to rub against inside of that. And so
Yeah.
as we're unpacking this aloud stuff, now,
Mm,
like
mm,
it is possible that we never get to worthy and deserve. Like, just tapping on safety, you might go take action.
yeah,
Sometimes tapping on safety and allowed is enough for me to start taking action.
yeah.
And then as we get into the second half of this, the first half, safe and allowed, is about taking action. Worthy and deserve are about the consequences of that action. And for
Mm,
me, worthy and deserve are not synonyms. And this is just the way I define them. No one has to define these words this way, but this is the framework that works for me. Worthy implies birthright, deserve implies transaction. So I am worthy of love. I deserve to be paid for the work that I do. Now,
yeah.
it is
Okay. Yeah.
possible for me to feel worthy of success, but I don't deserve that success because I've squandered opportunities in the past. Like, that's the reason why I separate those two things, because I can emotionally believe I am worthy of something, but because of my history, that becomes a resistance for me taking action.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and so again, I engage with those two things separately. But I okay, nice big deep breath. I am not worthy of working out regularly because
Oh, I just got to know.
yeah.
Because I just don't. Yeah, I'm just getting a
Okay, great.
no.
Where does
I
the
am
no
worthy.
okay, there's a no. Okay, great, there's a no. Is
There's a
there
no.
a tightness in the chest? Is there butterflies in the stomach? Is it a chattery brain? Where's the no?
Yeah, maybe just the pillar, the
Great.
torso.
So I want you to tune into the
Very
pillar.
mild.
Yeah,
Yep.
very mild in the
Very
pillar.
mild.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Ask the pillar, what's it afraid of?
It's just the time thing.
Yeah.
What do you give up to
Yeah.
allow that? Yeah,
Okay.
it's just
Okay. Great.
that.
So here's
Yeah.
worthy. So here's worthy. Me
Ah,
taking care of myself is less valuable than my work, the kids, the family, like
whatever.
all of those other awesome things that you have in your life. We were just talking about this work that you love so much to do. Like, well, if I'm
Yeah, yeah,
taking
yeah.
care of myself, I don't do that thing. And so what has happened is you have, on a conscious or subconscious level, put you at the bottom of the priority stack.
Oh my goodness. Jean, I would never have said that. This is excellent. This
You
is
know,
so good.
and,
Oh,
and, so, and so
wow.
and so this is the reason why I love
Yeah,
having this really specific framework,
yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
not trying to figure out anything complicated. And you'll notice, so
Mm.
then what we did is we just went back to the beginning. We found something at Worthy which we didn't know why, but
No,
it
yeah,
showed up as a physical resistance in your body.
yeah.
And so then all
Wow.
we had to do was ask the physical resistance what it's afraid
Yeah,
of.
what's it
And
afraid
now
of?
all of a
Mm,
sudden we have this tail ender to go after, where I am not, my
mm,
health and well-being on a
mm,
subconscious level is not
mm,
as valuable as the other things in
mm.
my life.
Yeah, it's been shoved to the bottom. And I'm talking
That's
about
right.
yoga, people. I'm talking about going to
That's
my
right.
yoga class.
That's right. But
Yeah,
and so you can see, like, just how it, like, again, I'm
yeah,
not looking for a root cause. I'm looking
yeah.
for a door. I'm looking for a window. I'm looking for something that gives me a chance. And then for me, and this is the really, really key thing, is the process is recursive. So as we work our way through this, we go back to the initial thing and we tune back into the initial thing. So I'm not just chasing pain and going all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
one of the things that Craig Weiner said early on in these conversations today was, when something comes up, I asked the client if that has anything, if solving this problem has anything to do with why we're having the session today. And if it does,
Mm,
we pursue it. And if it doesn't, we don't. Just
mm,
because it came up doesn't mean it's valuable. Again,
mm,
every time I sit down to tap, I'm sitting down with an outcome in mind. In this case, the outcome in mind is you would like to work out more than you currently are. And so uncovering this, no, I'm not worthy of it, that does that. And then we go back to the beginning, is it's not safe for me to work out because we see what comes. I'm not allowed.
yeah.
And we work our way through it and we go back until, and this has happened half a dozen times this year. We're 23 minutes into a half an hour session. And my client's like, I got to get off the phone. I just need to go take action right now. I don't want to talk to you anymore, Gene, because I need to go take action, because we've cleared enough
Yeah.
resistance that
Mm,
the want to is now not that I
mm,
want to, I
mm.
want to. And we're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
do it in this exact moment as we engage with it in that particular way. And so,
Fantastic. I love it.
yeah. And so it just makes it really, and again, it just, you know, and then if we wanted to make it more complicated, like, so safe, allowed, worthy, deserve, then what we can do is if we made that the y-axis, we can make the x-axis thinking about doing it,
Mm,
being seen thinking about doing it, being seen doing it. So
okay,
it's not safe for me to think about going to the gym.
okay.
It's not safe for me to go to the gym. It's not safe for other people to know I'm thinking about going to the gym,
Mhm.
because it's
Mm,
not
okay.
safe for other people to see me going to the gym because. And so
Okay.
now all of a sudden what we're doing is we're putting it in context. There's the
Yeah.
context of thinking, there's the context of doing, there's a context of being seen thinking, and there's a context of being doing. And so
Mm,
now all of a sudden I have 16 really simple phrases that I can complete, and all I need is a tail ender. And then I
mm,
tap on that tail ender and I respond to what's going up, and we use all of our other fabulous tappy tools, and we come back and we do it again, and we come back and we do it again, and we come back and we do it again.
oh, fantastic. Do we need to wrap it up with
We
deserve?
we do. So deserve. Yeah, wrap it up with deserve. We'll do this quickly. So
Yeah.
deserve again is this idea of that I my work merits the outcome. And almost always we struggle with me deserving the outcome is because of squandered opportunities in the past. Or so it's either squandered opportunities in the past, or I don't believe I have worked hard enough to get this outcome.
Okay.
I'm not worthy of this because I didn't try very hard. And the
Uh,
problem with that particular
yeah.
thing is the easiest thing for us to underestimate is our own expertise. Like, like the reason why I hire people to do things in my business is because they're hard for me to do. Therefore, I think they're valuable. If I can do them, they're not hard to do. Therefore, they're not valuable. But it's not that they're easy to do. They're easy for me to do.
Yeah.
And so if something comes to me easily and naturally, it's because we are given this Protestant worth ethic of I have to work hard to toil to get my outcome in that particular way, that if I don't think I have toiled enough to get the outcome, I am not worthy of the fruits of that particular outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, like those things show up along the way. Typically, safe and allowed show up at the beginning of a journey, where worthy and deserve show up the closer we get to the end. But if I have a strong, I'm not worthy and I'm not deserving, well, my subconscious mind's going to make sure I never get out of the starting blocks. So I don't have to bump into that particular thing. So even at the beginning, we might do safe, allowed, worthy, and deserve, but I only go as far as I need to. Like, the moment I am no longer taking the action and the resistance is overcoming me, or the resistance is making it too hard, or the resistance is diminishing my quality, then I need to keep doing the work. The moment the resistance is diminished enough that I'm doing the action at the rate I want with the amount of effort that I want to get the outcome I want, I'm done. And I get to move on to the next thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's still a 6 or a 4 or blue or however it's this big and now it's this, like whatever measurement I'm using, that no longer matters. All that matters is, how's it working for you? It's the only, like, safe, ethical, how's it working for you? Like, that's the priority stack always. And as long as I'm just looking at it through that lens, this is the reason why as a tapper, I describe myself as a practicalist. Like, I am looking for a practical outcome from what we are doing. And if we are able to get our way to that particular thing, I win. Like, it has been successful. We've gotten the thing that we need to do because I've taken the action.
So good. So good. And I've had like the biggest aha today, everybody. Fantastic. That is brilliant. Safe, allowed, worthy, and deserve. The sword protocol, everyone. Jean, it's just been wonderful having this time with you and connecting and, you know, all that you do. And can I just take a moment on behalf of the whole tapping world and, of course, the Peaceful Heart Network, who I've worked with as well as far as research journey with them. Just, you know, it's just beautiful, the work that you do to support them. And Ulf was absolutely correct when he turned to you and said, you did this. It was, I know, a result of the EFT contributions from everyone in the world, but it is you. You were the one who sparked the 24 hours of tapping. And if we didn't have Jean in the world to do all of that, of course, the Peaceful Heart Network wouldn't be able to extend their beautiful work as well. So thank you from my heart to yours, and on behalf of everyone out there.
And when I see you in a little more than a month and a half, remind me to tell you the story, how this event exists because I was running and hiding from something else. And this is actually the consequence of resistance and fear. But that's a story for another time. But I will share that with you for sure. Awesomeness.
It is. Thank you so much, Jean. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for hanging out for an extra hour with us and allowing us to do this sort of stuff. And
pleasure.
I appreciate you so much. And I will see you very, very soon.
You will.
Awesomeness. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. As you look at the screen right now, you can see a link to the entire playlist of every single conversation for previous 24 hours of tapping. There are over 120 presentations waiting for you. And please consider supporting the amazing work of the Peaceful Heart Network.